Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.
Come on, I beat him. Why are you making me bully this blob who can't fight back? Welcome to Hollow Nest, the first kingdom of insects, at least according to legend. It's a shell of its former glory. It's absolute punishment. It's long since been left as ruins, and now the subterranean cities, dead denizens of the deep, have started to awaken. And all manner of insectoid ilk are making trouble for any who dare plumb its depths. Such as you, the masked mystery bug, with unknown intention and origin, that slowly gets revealed as you progress on the journey, although ultimately I was left with one or two questions about what it was all about. Hollow Nest is massive, so there are plenty of caverns to explore, and secrets to find. Ideal conditions for a Metroidvania. It's a lovely kingdom too, with amazing visuals. Hand-drawn with great character design. Hey Greg, nice mustache. Say hi to King Kai for me. Cute critters that evoke a whole lot of personality, in spite of their masks that allow very little facial movement. And the only voiceovers that accompany their dialogue are short bursts of character-inducing buglish.
Choco, correct this.
Bapanada.
And just look at the sumptuous environment. It somehow achieves this with a dark, sometimes bleak color palette. It has great backgrounds and nice foreground details as well. They managed to jam as much detail as possible within the space they were working with. And they do get their money's worth, since Metroidvanias usually have you backtracking, increasing the amount of time you'll be seeing these features. Plus their visuals achieve something else that's quite nice, especially within the region of Green Path. It uses a lot of cramped tunnels, and oftentimes those foreground details partially obscure them, creating a feeling that may disturb the more claustrophobic among you. Yes, the visuals drive home that for most of this game, you are underground, within tight enclosed spaces, even in the more open areas, with the exceptions being areas that actually take place outside, or close to the surface. The visuals are arguably the strongest feature of the game, capturing the beauty and the decay of this kingdom, and it's accompanied by a brilliant and fairly unique atmosphere. Sure, some areas are made suitably eerie with darkness and the noises of things skittering about. And the odd situation where the music is intended to deliver a more traditional emotional response to the scenario. That plays in an area occupied by the bug world's equivalent of necromancers, sort of. But apart from the situations where this occurs, the game has some strange combinations when it comes to musical accompaniment. I mean, the game is about a kingdom that declined and you sifting through its remains, to hear its tragic backstory. Usually that kind of tangent is geared more towards sadness, but here the atmosphere is less so, almost indifferent at times. And this is most evident at the City of Tears, a place I only now realize has a sad name. It has this beautiful track that seems like it wants you to view this city as an archaeological piece of beauty rather than a mass grave. And plenty of the areas have music that make them feel alive, in spite of the fact that usually the occupants are dead. But the town above Dirtmouth is sad with sad music, in spite of the life that resides there. And that's probably due to the low population density. Well, Elderbug, I assume the reason people prefer to dive down into the ruins to explore instead of staying up here is because it's depressing. I mean, come on, that one bug over there was so desperate to entertain us that they fashioned an instrument out of ribs. In all fairness though, I suppose some of the other tracks are sad as well. The spooky stuff in the game didn't really scare me. My guess is that's because of the 2D perspective. I doubt many things would get the drop on you. You're never called a hero, only hope to be one. Your character doesn't speak, you're more like a force of nature, plowing through all of this, which contributes to that indifference. Story-wise, the game goes pretty much where you would expect, with some nice details being discoverable through finding secrets, and using your dream blade to see what bugs think of, and see the dreams of the dead, or their hollow echoes. Entering an area draped in silence, finding a rare person to talk to is quite delightful. And finding a resident that seemingly has lived here the entire time can be sad and mysterious. Even more so when you violate their privacy, see their thoughts, and sometimes see their secret vulnerabilities. This kind of leads us into the gameplay in that there's a lot to do. It took me quite a bit longer to complete this game than other Metroidvanias I've played. About 43 hours. Almost double the second highest hour total. And it's not like they stuffed it with filler. No gristle, really. Just tasty bug meat. It has the bedrock foundation that the genre is known for. You get new movement powers that allow you to reach previously unreachable places. And the movement mechanics are as tight and fluid as they need to be. Kind of strangely, you get double jump quite late in the game, but I assume that's because of the game's cramped confines. If you got double jump early, some of the other powers would become less useful, maybe even unnecessary to a large extent. And those movement mechanics are also used as part of a combat focus. There are so many types of enemies in this game. They all attack in specific ways, and anticipating those moves is necessary to survive. Dodge, 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 smooth. Add to that you can find and equip a whole lot of charms that usually give passive benefits. Yet more collectibles to find. The charms themselves, as well as the slots you put them into. And you can equip them to complement your combat strategy, sometimes offering new tactical options, expanding both the combat and exploration components of the game in one fell swoop. And rather pleasantly, it gives you something to spend the game's currency, Geo, on. Some denominations of which look like the bottom of a beetle's shell, and seemingly it wasn't created to instill some sort of sense of nationalistic pride, but instead to remind everyone of their mortality. And you have to buy map supplies, the maps themselves, and map markers, some of which you place yourself. What a ripoff, I thought at first. They turned out to be a necessity. Use them to mark secrets you can't reach yet, or risk forgetting about them, and like me, spending extra in-game time to find them again. Mask shards, vessel shards, more geo. Charms, story details, sellable collectibles, pale ore. Ether are all collectible, and they benefit your character and make the main story easier. It's good when they have a purpose. The secrets aren't just fun to find, they're incentivized. My favorite collectibles are the grubs that you save in order to produce a grub party. Yeah! It's great to be back together! Let's produce silk! This is a great game. It only has two minor issues in my opinion. While the in-game economy does start out well, fairly soon, or at the very least by mid-game, you will probably have more than enough money to buy everything, except for some expensive late-game charms. One of which is just an upgrade for a charm that earns you more geo, which is less useful at this point unless you really want to upgrade the other two. One of them is a favorite of mine, so it's not inconceivable. Secondly, they added multiple free content packs, and as can usually be the case with DLC, it can feel a bit tacked on, a bit separate from the rest of the game, especially since they seem to use a lot more red and gold in the design than the main game does, with its focus on blue, black and green, cold colors. But hey, it's free extra content, we can't really complain about it. And the content isn't bad, it gives more story and items, as well as a very difficult challenge realm, where you can engage in boss rushes, probably made for those who really like a challenge because it's very hard. And I'm not so sure you'll be rewarded with anything that valuable to do it. I did read on an online walkthrough that it can lead to a different ending, but I feel like I already got a pretty good ending, so not for me. The game has a lot of content. I didn't get all of the diary entries, and I didn't complete the challenge of the Fool. But I believe I did most things, including getting the Void Heart. After consulting the walkthrough, of course. Without it, I wouldn't have even known that the Void Heart existed. I eventually completed the game with a 106% completion percentage, out of a possible 112% according to the same online sources. And as said, that took me about 43 hours to do. The game is cheap on Steam, 159 Rand full price, 79 Rand 50 on sale. That's 1 Rand 85 per hour of gameplay, which is quite good, especially when you consider that a better sale price in its future would not be surprising. It does have a rather big download size, however. It takes up 7.43 gigabytes on the hard drive. And while it does technically work on the Warhorse, you can notice performance issues. Early on in areas like Dirtmouth and the Forgotten Crossroads, I suppose it does play well enough. But in visually complex areas, with a lot going on, such as the Trial of the Fool, it becomes unplayable with lag. So you're going to need something more powerful than the Warhorse to play it properly. But I suppose the good performance in the initial areas is encouraging. Hopefully you won't need something that much stronger. Stereotypically, I suppose it is kid-friendly, even though some of the areas are a bit dark and scary, and some of the bug designs are a bit disturbing. Ooh. I don't know if that was accidental, but the slash and the place the maggot was cut into synced up very well there. But other than that, this game is fine. The game has brilliant hand-drawn visuals, with great character design, that in conjunction with that small buglish voiceover, conveys a whole lot more personality and character than one would expect. Plus the backgrounds look great too. It's a very detailed kingdom with a sad, blue, dark, pale color palette. It's a very beautiful game. Arguably visuals are what it's best at. It also has great instrumental music that creates a strange, beautiful atmosphere for exploring a dead civilization. More like a tour through ruins than a hero's quest. Content-wise, the game is massive, at the very least by Metroidvania standards. There's a whole lot to collect, kill, and find. Plus, the game has very tight, fluid movement and combat. Kind of solid and deliberate, while still being fast. On the maybe side, the story is pretty much what you would expect. The past of the civilization is drip-fed to you, but it is presented well with cute insectoid characters, some extra story tidbits being findable as secrets, and the Dream Blade giving you access to some of the more vulnerable thoughts of bugs. It's actually a lovely melancholic thing at times, being surprised by those who survived all this time, alone, and finding the confused dream spirits of those who did not. Also, the game gives very little instruction as to where to go next, but in a fun way. Usually, it's straightforward enough for you to figure out the way through a process of elimination. On the con side, unless you're going for the final free upgraded charms, at some point you probably will have more than enough money, more than you will ever spend. So the economy sort of becomes less relevant later on, but it is nice and relevant at the start. And also the DLC content they've added feels a bit tacked on, with different color palette focuses and maybe even a different feel to the rest of the game. But that's a common issue among DLC, and beside, it's free. There's a severe limit to how much you can complain about something that's free. In fact, I wasn't that keen on adding these two as cons. This is a great game. Come on, play it. It's a great, brilliant, amazing... What? 150 geo for a bench? Well, nothing's free in this world. Except sugar water. I mean, come on. Insects don't run on soul.
Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.